Hi furniture friends, Katie here from Salvaged by K. Scott. I was wandering down the paint aisle at the hardware store the other day and I thought to myself, I wonder if I can make over an entire piece of furniture just using spray paint. I think I can. I'm gonna try, so I guess we're gonna find out together. I picked up this little homemade cabinet end table unit at a yard sale back in the summer for $10, and it's the perfect size project to experiment on. It's completely made of 1/4-inch plywood and has a drawer and some good clothes storage with some mid-century modern lines. Just like any other project that I work on, I'm going to start by washing this down with some simple green and warm water to remove all of my workshop dust and any grease or oils that might be on the surface. Having a really clean and grease-free surface is the first step when you're painting anything with any kind of paint. Once my table was good and dry, I put some 150 grit sandpaper on my sander. This is going to do two things for me. I'm using the sandpaper to smooth out the kind of rough plywood texture that this still has. And I'm creating a little bit of a fine tooth in the finish that's on here so that when I put the paint on, it's got something to grip onto. As I was sanding, I was also thinking about the hardware that I want to put on my finished piece, and I'm going to need to fill in these old holes. So I grabbed a tube of Quick Wood, which is a 2-part epoxy filler that's sort of like wood Play-Doh. I cut off a chunk and then mixed the two colors together until I got one uniform color. Then I made some little wormies and jammed those down into the holes. And I wanted to make sure that these were filled all the way through to the other side of the door and the drawer so that they don't ever sink in or become visible again. The Quick Wood took about 30 minutes to dry solid, and once it was, I went ahead and sanded that flush, and then I just grabbed my damp cloth again to give it one more wipe down and pick up any sanding dust. Ideally, you'd want to remove the doors and hinges from a cabinet to paint it so that you get a nice even finish and you don't get paint all over the hardware. But in this case, I have decided not to remove the hinges. I was pretty sure that doing so was just going to end up causing more problems on this thin plywood. So I just tucked a little piece of painter's tape around all of them to hopefully keep them clean and clear. And I also taped up the little cubby where the drawer sits so that that didn't get gummed up with paint either. I picked up a few cans of this Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover spray paint in Heirloom White. And this is what I'm going to use as my base for the new two-tone design that I want to do on this. I put on my respirator and also cracked the window out here in the garage because spray paints are super strong and I don't want this smell lingering in here. I turned the table upside down so that I can get at the bottom and around all of the legs with my first coat. And then I shook the can up really well for a full minute. I'm using this handy spray can trigger that I've got. It's not a necessity, but it is way easier for me anyways to hold the handle on this when I'm spraying something large. It's got a universal fit that just snaps on over the nozzle, and then when you pull the trigger, it presses the can nozzle for you. I'm trying to keep my spray 8 to 10 inches away from the surface and just using quick lighter bursts of paint. And since I'm using a really light color over a dark surface, I definitely didn't expect to get full coverage with this first coat. I'm just gonna keep building up light coats so that I don't end up with drips. If you do happen to end up with some drips, which is really easy to do with spray paints, you just need to let it dry all the way and then come back with some fine grit sandpaper to smooth it out, and you can spray on another coat right over top. I also made sure to stop every so often and give the can another little shake up to keep the paint flowing well. Once I'd done 2 coats upside down, I flipped the table again and just kept going. And I did end up using 3 full cans and doing 4 coats to get full coverage inside and outside on this little table. So I can't say that this method is any less expensive than just picking up a good furniture or cabinetry paint and rolling or brushing it, but hey, it's getting the job done. I left this white color to dry with my box fan on it overnight because I want it to be really dry and sort of set before I move on to my next step, which is tape. Whenever I'm masking off something that I want really clean, crisp lines on, I love frog tape. It does cost a little bit more than your average painter's tape, but it creates the most magical leak-proof seal, and I've always had good luck with it, so that's what I'm using today. I want to create some really thick stripes on here, so I'm using little pieces of my tape as spacers and then masking off my stripes 2 tape strips wide. This was a little bit tedious, but it honestly wasn't that bad. And I kind of like just sitting on the floor and working away at tasks like this. I was just going through my mental list of what I've already bought the kids for Christmas, what I still need to pick up, what kind of holiday baking I want to do this year, all that stuff. On the spots where I had to wrap the tape around a detail, like where the drawer meets the side, the strip on the front, and over the hinges, I want to make sure that the tape is really tight right up to all of those surfaces and there's no gapping. So I just grabbed a card and used that to really press that tape into the corners to get a super tight seal. I used a box cutter to trim up any overhanging tape, and then I just grabbed a popsicle stick to use as a straight edge just to square off the center here. And I tried to cut just through the tape and not down into the paint or wood underneath. Then I dampened up a shop towel. This frog tape is activated, the seal on it is activated with water. So I just used a damp towel to really burnish down and make sure that I had all of the tape edges sealed really well. Now that I've got all of my stripes in place, I'm ready to strap my respirator back on and spray my lines in gold. This specialty metallic gold is my absolute favorite gold spray paint. I love the tone of it, and it doesn't look glittery like a lot of metallic spray paints do. It's just gold. It's perfection. Again, a really good shake up and then just spray. This is going to need 2 coats to get full coverage. And after my first coat had dried for about 30 minutes, there were a few spots that looked a little fuzzy on the top here. I'm not sure why that happened, but I just carefully sanded those areas smooth with some 400 grit sandpaper and then sprayed on my second coat. I left that to dry for another half hour or so, and then I was ready to peel off my paint and see what I had. These lines came out so nicely. I was really happy that I only had a few tiny spots to touch up where the gold had gotten through, and I didn't see any peeling paint. I'm not sure why, but I was kind of expecting some of the cream base color to come up with the tape. That was a nice surprise though. It lets me know that that paint is really well adhered and is gonna last fine. To do my little touch-ups, I just grabbed some little artist brushes from the dollar store and then sprayed a little bit of paint into these cups so that I could brush it on where I needed to. And I know that this paint is solid, but as one last just in case measure, I did decide to top coat this table with some clear satin spray. I clipped my trigger onto the can. Again, you gotta shake it up, and then carefully applied 2 coats over the whole outside of the table. Now all that's left to do is figure out what I want to use for hardware. I have quite a collection of odds and ends in the gold family, so I pulled them all out. I had a lot of contenders that I think would work well on this table, but I ultimately decided on these 2 smaller, simple knobs on the doors, and then one of these gold trimmed marble pulls on the drawer. So can you flip a piece of furniture using only spray paint? Yes, you can. I don't know if it was economical, and it's definitely a lot stinkier than the low VOC paints that I'm used to using, but I am absolutely thrilled with the final result that I have. I'm taking the next few weeks off from furniture to do all of the fun winter things with my boys. Thank you all so much for being here. I wish you all a joy-filled holiday season, no matter what you are celebrating. And I will catch you all with some fresh furniture flips in 2023.